My name is James, but everyone calls me Grandpa Jim. I'm 68 years old, and for 12 years my whole world was a little boy named Eli, my daughter's son. After she passed, I promised her I'd raise him right, and I did. Every scraped knee, every school concert, every bedtime story. Then one day, his estranged father came back, said he'd make things right. I believed him. I shouldn't have. He took Eli, said he needed a chance to know his real dad, and just like that, my boy was gone. I called, I wrote, no reply. Then I found out what he told him. Your grandpa passed away. I didn't exist anymore. So I waited, quietly. Until one night, a message popped up on Facebook. It was from Eli. He'd found my page. I'm going to tell you what happened. How a man can lose everything, even his name, and still find a way to hold on to love. But before I begin, tell me in the comments, where are you watching this from? To everyone here supporting this community, thank you. Your messages keep me going. And if this is your first time here, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and hit the bell. You're not just joining a channel. You're joining a family that believes no one should suffer in silence. Now, let me tell you my story. I found out I was dead on a Tuesday. Funny how the worst moments of your life come dressed as ordinary days. I was fixing the porch railing, the one Eli used to swing on despite me telling him not to, when Margaret from 2 houses down walked up my driveway. She had that look people get when they're about to deliver bad news but don't know how. "Jim," she said, gripping her purse straps. "My niece teaches at Eli's new school, over in Riverside." My hands stilled on the hammer. Riverside was 2 hours away. Close enough to drive, far enough that Marcus, Eli's father, knew I wouldn't just show up. She said, "Jim, she said Eli wrote an essay about losing both his mother and his grandfather." The hammer slipped from my hand, hit the porch with a sound that seemed to echo forever. "That's not possible," I heard myself say. "I called the school last month. They said he was doing well, adjusting." Margaret's eyes filled with tears. "The essay was about grief, Jim, about how his father helped him through losing you. It won an award." I sat down hard on the porch steps, the same steps where I'd taught Eli to tie his shoes, where we'd eaten popsicles every summer evening, his legs swinging, not quite reaching the ground. 3 years. It had been 3 years since Marcus took him. 3 years of blocked calls, returned letters, restraining orders filed claiming I was harassing them. 3 years of driving past basketball courts, hoping to catch a glimpse. 3 years of people telling me, "Give it time, Jim. He'll reach out when he's older." But how can someone reach out to a dead man? Margaret was still talking, but I couldn't hear her over the rushing in my ears. Eli thought I was dead. My grandson, the boy I'd raised since he was 3, who'd called me Papa Jim before he could properly pronounce Grandpa, believed I'd abandoned him through death. I stood up abruptly, startling poor Margaret. "I need to see this essay. Jim, I don't think—" "Please." She made a call. Her niece couldn't send the essay. Privacy rules. But she told us what she remembered. Eli had written about the watch I'd given him, my father's watch. How he kept it hidden in a shoebox because it was all he had left of me. How his father told him I'd died peacefully, no suffering, just went to sleep and didn't wake up. 2 weeks after you took him, Margaret's niece said through the phone. That's when his father said it happened. 2 weeks. I'd been pounding on Marcus's door 2 weeks after he took Eli. I'd been very much alive, begging to see my grandson while Marcus called the police. That night, I sat in Eli's old room. Nothing had changed. His baseball trophies still lined the shelf. His favorite book, the one about the boy who befriends a dragon, still bookmarked at chapter 6 where we'd stopped reading the night before he left. The bed still made with the dinosaur sheets he'd probably outgrown by now. I pulled out my phone and did something I'd sworn I wouldn't do. I searched for Marcus on Facebook, found him easily. He'd never been smart about privacy settings. And there was Eli, Taller now, shoulders broader, but still with Sarah's eyes. Sarah, my daughter, who'd made me promise to take care of him if anything happened to her. "I'm sorry, baby girl," I whispered to her picture on the nightstand. "I'm so sorry." But then I noticed something in one of the photos. Eli at what looked like a school event and just barely visible on his wrist, my father's watch. He was wearing it. Marcus had told him I was dead, but Eli kept the watch, wore it even. Maybe, just maybe, some part of him knew. Sarah knew she was dying before the doctors did. Mother's intuition, maybe. Or perhaps it was the way the pain had settled into her bones, made itself at home. Either way, she called me to the hospital at 2 a.m. on a Wednesday, 6 years before Marcus would take Eli away. "Dad," she said, her hand cold in mine, "I need you to promise me something." Eli was 3 then, asleep in the chair beside her bed, clutching the stuffed elephant I'd bought him. Marcus hadn't shown up in 2 days. Another bender, we assumed. Sarah didn't even look disappointed anymore, just tired. "Anything, sweetheart. Take care of Eli. Not just if something happens. When it happens." She squeezed my hand with what little strength she had. "Marcus isn't evil, Dad. He's just broken, and broken people break things. Don't let him break Eli." I wanted to tell her she'd be fine, that she'd raise Eli herself, see him graduate, dance at his wedding. But we'd passed the point of pretty lies. I promise. She died 2 weeks later. Marcus showed up to the funeral drunk, tried to give a speech, threw up in the parking lot. I took Eli home that night and Marcus didn't protest. Didn't even ask where we were going. For 6 years, it was just Eli and me. I learned things I'd never known raising Sarah. How to French braid hair for crazy hair day at school. The names of every dinosaur that ever existed. How to check for monsters under the bed in a way that actually convinced him they were gone. I converted Sarah's old room into his, but kept touches of her everywhere. Her photos, her jewelry box on the dresser, her perfume that Eli would sometimes spray just to remember. We talked about her every day. Not in past tense, but as if she was still part of our lives, just in a different way. "Mama would be proud of you," I'd tell him after baseball games. "Mama loved this song," he'd say when certain music came on the radio. We were healing, both of us, building something new from the ashes of loss. Then Marcus got sober. It started with a phone call. "I want to see my son. I should have seen it coming." Marcus had joined AA, gotten a job, married a woman named Denise who'd changed his life. The courts love a redemption story. They see a biological father wanting to reconnect and assume it's beautiful, natural, right. They don't see what I saw. The timing. Eli had just turned 13. 5 more years and Sarah's life insurance policy held in trust for Eli would be his. But if Marcus had custody, he'd control it as Eli's guardian. The visits started small, supervised at first. Marcus would take Eli to the park, to movies, to the batting cages. He was good at it, playing father. Eli was cautiously optimistic. He'd ask me questions I couldn't answer. "Why does Dad look at me sometimes like he's seeing someone else? Do you think he really wants me, or just wants to want me?" "I think," I told him carefully, "that your dad is trying to be better. And that's good. But you always have a home here, no matter what." The custody petition came 6 months later. Marcus's lawyer painted a picture. A biological father, reformed and stable, wanting to raise his son. A new wife, eager to be a mother. A 2-parent household versus an aging grandfather. They had me take a physical, questioned my health, my ability to keep up with a teenager. "Mr. James," the judge asked me, "do you believe Eli's father poses any danger to him?" I looked at Marcus, sober now for 18 months, wearing a suit I'd never seen, holding his wife's hand. Then I looked at Eli, who was watching me with Sarah's eyes. "No," I said, "no physical danger. But there are other ways to hurt a child, other things to break." The judge granted split custody at first. Eli would spend weekdays with me, weekends with Marcus. It worked for almost a year. Eli would come home Sunday nights full of stories, gifts Marcus had bought him, places they'd gone, expensive things I couldn't afford on my pension. "He's trying to buy your love," I didn't say. "This is what fathers do when they feel guilty," I didn't say. Instead, I said, "That sounds fun, buddy. Tell me more." Then Denise got pregnant, and suddenly, Marcus needed full family integration. His lawyer filed for full custody, citing Eli's need for a complete family unit and siblings. The day the judge ruled in Marcus's favor, Eli held my hand in the courtroom. "It's okay, Papa Jim," he whispered. "I'll come see you all the time." Neither of us knew that Marcus had already decided I wouldn't exist in their new life, that he'd already crafted the story of my death, practiced the words he'd used to erase me. The morning Marcus came to take Eli was the kind of August day that tricks you into thinking summer will last forever. Eli had been up since dawn, packing and repacking his bags, adding things, removing them, asking me if he should take this or that. He was nervous, but trying not to show it. 15 years old, taller than me now, voice cracking between boy and man. "Should I take all my trophies?" he asked, holding his Little League MVP award. "Leave them here," I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. "They'll be waiting for you when you visit." He nodded, set it back on the shelf. We both pretended we knew when that would be. I made his favorite breakfast, chocolate chip pancakes with too much syrup, the way Sarah used to make them. He ate slowly, cutting precise triangles, chewing each bite like he was memorizing the taste. Neither of us mentioned that his plate was still half full when he pushed it away. "Papa Jim," he said suddenly, "what if I don't want to go?" The words hung between us like a rope I couldn't grab. "Your dad loves you," I said, the lie burning my throat. "And the judge thinks this is best. Sometimes we have to trust that things work out the way they're supposed to." But what if they don't? I walked around the table, pulled him into a hug. He was 15, too old for this really, but he held on tight, his face buried in my shoulder like he was 3 again and scared of thunder. "Then you call me," I whispered. "Day or night, any time, any reason. You call me and I'll come get you. I don't care what any judge says." Marcus honked from the driveway. He didn't come to the door, didn't help with bags, just sat in his idling Tahoe with the air conditioning running. I walked Eli out, carrying one of his bags. Marcus nodded at me through the windshield. Not hostile, not friendly, just acknowledgement that I existed. Denise was in the passenger seat, her pregnant belly visible, scrolling through her phone. "Wait," I said, and went back inside. Came back with my father's watch, the one he'd given me when I turned 18. Gold, with a simple inscription on the back. "Time passes. Love remains." "This was going to be yours at 18 anyway," I told Eli, fastening it around his wrist. "But I want you to have it now. So, you remember." "Remember what?" "That you're loved. That you come from people who loved you before you were born and will love you after." I stopped, unable to finish. Marcus honked again, longer this time. Eli hugged me once more, quickly, then got in the car. I watched him buckle his seatbelt, saw him touch the watch, adjust it on his wrist. He waved as they pulled away and I waved back, standing in the driveway until the car turned the corner and disappeared. I went inside and sat at the kitchen table staring at his half-eaten pancakes. The syrup had started to congeal. The chocolate chips had melted into dark smears. I sat there for 3 hours, unable to move, unable to clean up, unable to do anything but replay every moment of the last 15 years. That evening, I called Eli's phone, straight to voicemail. I tried again the next morning. The number had been disconnected. I drove to Marcus's house that afternoon, a new construction in a gated community 2 hours away. The guard at the gate had my name on a list. "I'm sorry, sir, but you're not authorized to enter." "I'm his grandfather. I just want to—" "I'm sorry, sir. You need to leave, or I'll have to call the police." I left, but I came back the next day, parked outside the gates. I could see the house from there, white brick with black shutters, American Dream packaging. I saw Denise leave for what looked like a prenatal appointment. Saw Marcus mowing the lawn. Never saw Eli. I wrote letters, one a day at first, then one a week when they all came back unopened. I called Marcus's phone, left messages that started angry, turned to pleading, eventually became just saying Eli's name and please. 2 weeks after he took Eli, I hired a lawyer. Cost me half my savings just to be told what I already knew. Grandparents have no rights in this state. The biological father had custody. Unless I could prove abuse or neglect, there was nothing to be done. But he won't let me see him. Won't let me call. "That's his prerogative as the custodial parent," the lawyer said, not unkindly. "I'm sorry, Mr. James. The law doesn't recognize love, only blood and paperwork." 3 weeks after Eli left, Marcus filed a restraining order. Said I was harassing his family, disturbing the peace of their home. The judge granted it. Just like that, it became illegal for me to love my grandson out loud. That night, I sat in Eli's room and talked to Sarah's picture. "I failed," I told her. "I'm so sorry, baby. I failed." But I didn't know then that Marcus had already told Eli I was dead, that my grandson was across town, crying into a pillow, mourning me while I sat in his childhood bedroom, surrounded by everything he'd left behind, very much alive and entirely erased. If you're loving this story as much as I love telling it, do us both a favor. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. That way, you never miss our next adventure. Thanks for being an awesome part of the channel. Now, back to the story. The church parking lot was nearly empty when I saw them. It was a Thursday afternoon in October, 6 months after Marcus took Eli. I'd been driving aimlessly again, something I did now instead of sleeping, when I passed St. Andrews and saw Marcus's Tahoe. I almost kept driving. The restraining order was clear, 500 feet at all times, but something made me pull into the far corner of the lot, behind the dumpsters where shadows swallowed my truck. They came out 20 minutes later. Marcus first, then Denise with her newborn, and then Eli. He looked different. Thinner, maybe, or maybe it was just the formal clothes. Black suit, black tie. Church clothes. No, I realized with a sick lurch. Funeral clothes. They were leaving a memorial service. But whose? I watched Eli help Denise with the baby carrier, watched him hold the door for an elderly woman exiting behind them. Still my boy, still kind. But his shoulders carried weight they hadn't before, the kind that comes from carrying grief. I should have left then, should have driven away before anyone noticed. But I needed to know who they were mourning. So I waited until they drove off, then walked to the church entrance where they post those memorial boards. In loving memory of James William Patterson, beloved father and grandfather, time passes, love remains. The ground tilted. I grabbed the door frame, staring at my own name, my own father's inscription, the one from the watch I'd given Eli. There was even a photo, lifted from my Facebook page. Me and Eli at his 8th grade graduation, both of us grinning, his arms slung around my shoulders. They'd held a memorial service. For me. While I stood in the parking lot, alive and breathing and excluded from my own funeral. "Can I help you?" A voice behind me. The priest, young, concerned. "The Patterson Memorial," I managed. I knew him. His face softened. Ah, yes. Tragic loss. His grandson gave such a beautiful eulogy, said his grandfather taught him that love doesn't die with the body, that it lives on in the lessons we leave behind. The boy gave a eulogy. Broke everyone's hearts. Poor child lost his mother years ago, now his grandfather. Thank God he has his father and stepmother. He touched my shoulder gently. "Were you close to James?" I looked at this priest, this stranger who'd presided over my death. "Once," I said. "Once I was." I sat in my truck until dark, engine off, just staring at the church. trying to understand the cruelty of it. It wasn't enough to take Eli away, wasn't enough to cut me off completely. Marcus had to kill me, had to make Eli mourn me, had to stand there and comfort our grandson through grief that didn't need to exist. But why? What kind of person does that? The answer came to me as I drove home. Control. Marcus couldn't control a living grandfather who might show up, might fight for visits, might remind Eli of another life. But a dead grandfather? That was safe, clean, final. That night, I did something I'd never done before. I drove past the gates of Marcus's community at 2 a.m., parked a street over, and walked through the golf course that backed up to his property. No fences between the manicured lawns. Rich people don't fence each other out, just the rest of us. I stood at the edge of his backyard, looking up at what had to be Eli's window. Corner room, second floor, single window facing the golf course. The light was on. Through the thin curtain, I could see the shadow of someone moving around, sitting, standing, pacing. Eli couldn't sleep. My grandson, who thought I was dead, couldn't sleep. I wanted to throw a rock at his window like some teenage movie. Wanted to call out, to let him know I was here, alive, still loving him from across this impossible distance. Instead, I stood there until the light finally went off at 3:47 a.m., memorizing the exact shade of blue they'd painted his walls. Walking back through the golf course, I made a decision. If I was dead to Eli, if that was the story Marcus needed to tell, then I'd be a ghost. I'd watch from the edges, make sure he was okay, be ready if he ever needed me, even if he never knew I was there. The next day, I went to the library and learned how to use Facebook properly. Created a new account under my middle name, William James instead of James Patterson. Started filling it with just enough content to look real. Photos of the garden. The occasional sunset. Nothing that would trigger Marcus's attention if he ever looked, but enough that if Eli ever searched for me, ever questioned the story, there would be breadcrumbs to follow. Then I started showing up to his basketball games. Not inside the gym, the restraining order still stood, but the parking lot was public property. I'd sit in my truck with binoculars like some kind of stalker, watching through the windows as number 23, Sarah's birthday, ran the court. He was good, quick on his feet, smart about passes. Sarah would have been proud. After one game, I followed the team bus to a pizza place. Watched through the window as Eli laughed with his teammates, looking for a moment like any other teenager. Normal. Happy even. Maybe Marcus was right, I thought. Maybe a clean break was better. Maybe believing I was gone was easier than knowing I was out here, unreachable. But then I saw him touch his wrist, where the watch should have been. Saw his face change for just a moment. A flicker of something raw and private. Before the mask went back up and he rejoined the conversation. He still felt it. The absence. The loss that didn't need to be. Being dead takes practice. You have to learn new routes to avoid being seen. Calculate distances, exactly how far 500 feet is from every angle. Memorize schedules, patterns, the rhythms of a life you're no longer part of. Marcus worked at a car dealership downtown, 9 to 6, Tuesday through Saturday. Denise did yoga on Monday mornings, grocery shopping Wednesday afternoons, book club every other Thursday. The baby, Marcus Jr., I learned from social media, had doctor appointments every month. And Eli? Eli had school until 3:15, basketball practice until 5:30, tutoring on Tuesdays, volunteer work at the animal shelter on Saturdays. The animal shelter. That was new. Sarah had been allergic to dogs, cats, anything with fur. But Eli had always wanted a pet, used to beg me for a hamster at least. Now he spent 4 hours every Saturday morning walking dogs and cleaning kennels. I started volunteering at a different shelter, one town over. Told myself it wasn't about Eli, that I just needed something to do with my hands, some purpose to my Saturdays. But really, I wanted to understand this new piece of him, this interest that had developed in my absence. You're good with the difficult ones. Sharon, the shelter manager, told me after a month. Most volunteers avoid the scared dogs, the biters, the ones who cower in corners, but you always go straight to them. Everyone deserves patience, I said, thinking of a 3-year-old boy who'd cowered in his own corners after his mother died. Christmas came and went. I sent a card to Marcus's house knowing it would be returned, needing to try anyway. It came back marked, refused. But I kept sending them. Birthday cards, Christmas cards, Easter cards. Each one unopened, each one refused, each one saved in a box under my bed like evidence of love that still existed. I found out about Eli's grades from Margaret's niece, honor roll every semester. Found out about his science fair project from a photo in the newspaper. 3rd place for a study on how music affects plant growth. Sarah had played violin. She would have loved that he chose that topic. Spring arrived, and with it, tournament season for basketball. The regional championship was held at the Civic Center, large enough that I could sit in the uppermost bleachers without violating any court orders. I wore a baseball cap, sunglasses, sat behind a pillar. But I was there. Eli played like his life depended on it. 22 points, 8 assists. With 30 seconds left, they were down by 1. Eli stole the ball, drove down the court, and instead of taking the shot himself, passed to a teammate who'd been cold all game. The kid made it. They won. That's when I knew for certain he was still the boy I'd raised. In the moment of glory, he'd chosen trust over personal victory, chosen to lift someone else up. Marcus was there, of course, front row with Denise and the baby, filming on his phone. When Eli's team won, Marcus ran onto the court, grabbed Eli in a hug that looked perfect from the stands. Father and son, celebrating together. No one else could see how Eli's body stayed rigid for a beat too long before relaxing into the embrace. No one else noticed how his eyes searched the crowd like he was looking for someone who wasn't there. Looking for me, maybe. Or just looking for something he couldn't name. An absence shaped like a grandfather who used to never miss a game. That night, I updated my Facebook page. Posted a photo of the Civic Center from outside, caption, "Great game tonight. So proud." Vague enough that Marcus wouldn't recognize it if he ever looked. Specific enough that if Eli ever found the page, he'd know I'd been there. 3 days later, I got a notification. Someone had searched for William James and viewed my profile. The search came from Riverside, Eli's town. My heart hammered as I waited for a friend request, a message, anything. Nothing came. But 2 weeks later, another profile view, then another. Always from Riverside. Always late at night. He was looking but not reaching out. Maybe suspicious but not certain. Or maybe it was just coincidence, some stranger randomly clicking through profiles. I started posting more carefully after that. The tomato plants in the garden. He'd helped me plant those when he was 12. The old oak tree in the backyard where we'd built a fort that one summer. My father's watch, a different one, similar style, on my wrist with the caption, "Time passes." Breadcrumbs. Just enough breadcrumbs. Marcus posted constantly. Family photos, Eli's achievements, Marcus Jr.'s first steps. The perfect family. Thriving. In every photo with Eli, I looked for signs. He was taller now, 17, starting to look at colleges. His smile reached his eyes in some photos, not in others. He wore long sleeves even in summer, hiding his wrists, hiding the absence of a watch he should have been wearing. I learned from Margaret's niece that Eli had written another essay, this one about resilience, about losing everything and building something new. His teacher had called it haunting. If only she knew. Then came the night everything shifted. August 15th, exactly 2 years since Marcus had taken him. I was sitting in my truck outside a coffee shop where I knew Eli studied sometimes, just hoping for a glimpse when I saw them. Marcus and Eli having what looked like an argument. Marcus gestured angrily. Eli stood his ground. Then Marcus said something that made Eli step back. his face crumpling for just a moment before it went blank. Marcus stormed off, left Eli standing there on the sidewalk. I watched my grandson sink onto a bench, drop his head into his hands, shoulders shaking. Every instinct screamed to go to him. To hell with restraining orders, to hell with consequences. That was my boy, crying alone on a bench, thinking he had no one. But I couldn't, because I was dead, and the dead can't comfort the living. So I did the only thing I could. I went home and wrote him a letter I'd never send. Eli, you are loved. You have always been loved. You will always be loved. Even when you can't see it, even when you can't feel it, that love exists. It watches your games from parking lots. It celebrates your victories from a distance. It grieves your pain from the shadows. Love doesn't die, even when people tell you it has. Someday, somehow, you'll know this is true. Until then, I'm here. Always here. Pop. The pawn shop was the last place I expected to see it. I'd gone in looking for a lawnmower part. Retirement doesn't exactly leave room for buying new when used will do. But there it was in the glass case, between a class ring and some costume jewelry. My father's watch. The inscription worn but visible. The leather band I'd replaced 3 years ago still supple. How much for the watch? My voice came out strangled. The Omega? Good eye. Guy brought it in yesterday. Needed cash fast. I can do $300. $300 for 3 generations of love. The guy, young, about 17. The owner's eyes narrowed. You know I can't discuss customers. I pulled out my wallet, counted bills. I'll give you $400 if you tell me why he needed the money. He hesitated, then shrugged. Kid seemed desperate. Said something about getting out, starting over. Looked like he'd been crying. That's all I know. I paid cash, walked out with the watch burning a hole in my pocket. Eli had sold it. The one thing I'd given him to remember me by, and he'd sold it. But why? What did getting out mean? That night, I broke my own rules. I created a fake profile. A teenager from another state, interested in basketball. Found Eli's Instagram, which was public. Started scrolling through recent posts. Normal stuff mostly. Team photos, homework complaints, a sunset. But 3 weeks back, there was a photo that stopped my heart. It was Eli and a girl at what looked like a school dance. Normal teenage stuff except for Marcus's comment underneath, "Delete this. You know the rules." Eli had replied, "It's just a dance, Dad." Marcus, "We discussed this. Delete it now." The photo stayed up. I scrolled further, found a post about college applications. Eli was looking at schools, all of them at least 5 states away. Every comment from Marcus was negative. Too expensive. Too far. You're not ready. We need you here. Then I found it. A post from 2 days ago, just a quote. Sometimes the only way to find yourself is to lose everything else first. The comments below were from his friends. You okay? Here, if you need to talk. Your dad's wrong. His dad's wrong about what? I switched back to my William James profile. Posted the watch. Just a simple photo. The inscription clearly visible. Found this today. Reminds me that love remains, even when time passes. Within an hour, the post had been viewed from Riverside. Within 2 hours, I had a message request. Where did you get that watch? The profile was blank, created minutes ago. The name was just initials. E.M. Eli Marcus. My hands shook as I typed, "Pawn shop on Riverside. Someone sold it who shouldn't have had to." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, "Who are you?" I stared at the screen for 20 minutes. How do you tell someone you're their dead grandfather? How do you explain a lie that's shaped 2 years of their life? Finally, I wrote, "Someone who knows that watch belongs with you. Check your Instagram messages." I sent him a photo from my phone. One Marcus couldn't have had, couldn't have seen. Eli and me at the kitchen table, him about 14, both of us covered in flour from trying to make pizza dough from scratch. Sarah had taken it without us knowing, both of us laughing at some long-forgotten joke. The response came immediately. This isn't possible. A lot of things aren't possible, but they're still true. My grandfather is dead. My dad told me. We had a memorial service. I know, I was in the parking lot. Nothing for 10 minutes. Then, prove it. Tell me something only he would know. The night before your mother died, she was worried about you having nightmares. She made me promise that if you ever had bad dreams, I'd tell you the story about the boy who learned to eat thunder. You were too young to remember her telling it, but you always asked for it during storms until you were 7. You said if you could eat thunder, you wouldn't be scared of it. Stop. The last thing I said to you was that time passes, but love remains. You were wearing the watch. Your dad honked twice because he was impatient. You had chocolate chip pancake syrup on your shirt collar. You're dead. You're dead. He said you died. He lied. The typing bubbles appeared and disappeared for 5 solid minutes. Then, why would he do that? I don't know. But I've been here the whole time. Every basketball game. Every honor roll announcement. I've been here, Eli. I've been here, but I couldn't reach you. The restraining order. He knew about it. Of course he knew. Marcus would have had to explain why Pop couldn't visit before he decided death was cleaner. Yes. So, you just watched? For 2 years. What else could I do? I'm nobody to the law. Just a grandfather. But I never stopped loving you. Never stopped being proud of you. Never stopped waiting for this moment, even when I didn't think it would come. I sold your watch. I know. I have it now. It's waiting for you. You and whatever you're running from. How did you... He stopped typing. Then, he says I can't go to college. Says I need to stay here. Help with the baby. Help with the family business. Says I owe him for taking me in. Taking you in? You're his son. That's not how he sees it. He needed the money. Mom's life insurance. It's almost gone now. The house, the cars, Denise's shopping. He spent it all. And now he needs me to work, to bring in income. Free labor at the dealership. The pieces clicked together. Marcus hadn't just stolen Eli from me. He'd stolen Sarah's money meant for Eli's future. And now he wanted to steal that future too. I can't do this, Eli wrote. This is too much. You're supposed to be dead. I mourned you. I grieved. I wrote essays about losing you. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I have to go. He's home. Eli, wait. If you need help, if you need to get out, I'm here. I've always been here. But he was already gone, the active dot next to his name disappearing. For 3 weeks, nothing. I checked Facebook obsessively, watching for any sign of him. The fake profile had been deleted. My messages sat unread. Even his Instagram went silent. No posts, no comments, nothing. I told myself he needed time. 2 years of grief doesn't unravel in one conversation. 2 years of believing someone is dead doesn't just evaporate. But every night, I'd sit with my phone, willing it to light up with his name. Then Margaret knocked on my door at midnight. Jim, there's a boy at my house. Says he's looking for you but was scared to come directly. I ran. Actually ran, my 68-year-old knees protesting every step. But there he was, sitting on Margaret's porch steps, a backpack at his feet, looking exactly like Sarah when she'd shown up at my door pregnant and scared at 17. Eli. He looked up, and for a moment neither of us moved. 2 years of distance, death, and lies stood between us like a wall we couldn't figure out how to climb. You got old, he finally said. You got tall. He laughed, but it turned into something else, something broken. I sat down beside him, careful not to touch, not to assume. We sat there in silence, shoulder to shoulder but not quite touching, while the crickets sang and Margaret's porch light flickered. He's been lying about everything, Eli said finally. Not just you, everything. Tell me. The money's gone. All of it. Mom's insurance, the college fund you set up, even the savings bonds from Great Aunt Ruth. He spent it all. And now he's in debt. Bad debt. The kind where people come to the house at night. Jesus. Denise left, took the baby, said she didn't sign up for this. He blamed me, said if I hadn't been such a burden, if he hadn't had to take me in. He trailed off, picking at a hole in his jeans. I found the restraining order in his desk, found the letters you sent that he marked refused, found a voicemail from you begging to see me from 2 years ago, saved on his phone like a trophy. Why would he save it? To remind himself he won, I think. He likes winning, likes control. The memorial service was Denise's idea. She thought it would give me closure. But he liked it, liked being the hero father who helped his son through grief. A car drove by slowly, and Eli tensed. Is he looking for you? Probably. I left a note. Said I was 18 in a month and was done being his responsibility. He'll be relieved, honestly. One less mouth to feed, one less person to see him for what he really is. You can stay here, I said quickly. Your room's the same. Still got those dinosaur sheets you probably think you're too old for. He smiled, a real smile. I loved those sheets. I know. We went home, like he'd never left. He stood in the doorway of his room, taking in the trophies, the books, the careful preservation of a life interrupted. You kept everything. I kept hoping. He walked to the shelf, touched each trophy like he was making sure they were real. Found the book we'd been reading, still bookmarked at chapter 6. We never found out if the dragon was good or evil, he said. Want to find out now? It was 3 a.m, but he nodded. We sat on his bed, me in the chair I'd always read from, him propped against pillows that still smelled faintly of the lavender sachets Sarah used to make. I read chapter 6, 7, 8, while he listened with his eyes closed, occasionally saying, I remember this part. The dragon, it turned out, wasn't good or evil. It was just hurt, lashing out from pain, needing someone to see past the fire to the fear underneath. That's a little on the nose, Eli said when I finished chapter 10. Most truths are. He was quiet for a moment. I need to tell you something, about Dad, about why he really took me. I waited. He never wanted me. He told me that, when he was drunk last month, said I was a mistake that ruined his 20s, and Sarah was too stubborn to get rid of me. But when she died, when he sobered up and realized there was money, he shrugged. I was worth something then, not as a son, as an asset. Eli, it's okay. I mean, it's not okay, but I'm okay. Because you wanted me. You chose me every day for 12 years. And even when I thought you were gone, even when I was grieving you, I knew I had been loved. Really loved. That's more than a lot of people get. You deserved better. From him. From the system. From a world that thinks blood matters more than choice. He pulled something from his backpack. A manila envelope, thick with papers. I've been documenting everything. The debt, the threats, the emotional abuse. I'm 18 in 3 weeks. But I need somewhere to stay until then, and I need help filing for access to whatever's left of Mom's estate, if anything. You've been planning this. Since the night we talked. Since I realized you were alive and I wasn't crazy for feeling like your death never made sense. He told me you went peacefully in your sleep, but you just had a physical for the custody hearing. You were healthy. It never added up, but I thought grief was making me paranoid. A car pulled into the driveway. We both froze. It's him, Eli whispered. Marcus pounded on the door. I know he's here, old man. That's my son. I looked at Eli. You want me to handle this? Together. Together. We went to the door. I opened it to find Marcus, disheveled, smaller than I remembered. The years hadn't been kind. Alcohol bloat, thinning hair, the desperate eyes of a man who'd gambled everything and lost. You're supposed to be dead, he said to me, like an accusation. Surprise. Eli, get in the car. Now. No, I'm your father. No, Eli said again, stronger. "You're the man who stole my mother's legacy, who told me my grandfather was dead, who tried to trap me into being your free labor. You're nothing to me." Marcus lunged forward, but I stepped between them. "Touch him, and I call the police. Restraining order works both ways. He's my son. He's 17. For 3 more weeks, Eli said, and I have enough evidence of financial abuse and fraud to make your life very difficult. Want to test me?" Marcus looked between us, calculating. Then his shoulders slumped. I needed the money. Denise wanted things. The baby needed things. I was trying to build a life. With money meant for my education, Eli said flatly. With my future. I was going to pay it back. When? How? With what money? Eli pulled out his phone. "I recorded you last week, Dad, telling me college was a waste, that I should be grateful you even took me in, that Mom would be disappointed in how selfish I turned out. Remember that?" Marcus went pale. "Leave," I said quietly. "Leave now. Leave us alone. And maybe Eli doesn't press charges. Maybe you get to start over somewhere else, be someone else's problem." Marcus looked at Eli one more time. "Your mother would—" "Don't." Eli's voice was sharp as glass. "Don't you dare talk about her. She saw you for exactly what you were. That's why she made Pop promise to take care of me. She knew you'd fail me. She just didn't know how completely." Marcus left without another word. We watched his taillights disappear, then went inside. Eli sank onto the couch, suddenly looking all of his 17 years. "Was I too harsh?" "No," I said, sitting beside him. "You were honest. There's a difference. What happens now?" Now, we figure out how to get you into college. We plant the garden you missed 3 seasons of. We finish that book about the dragon. We make up for lost time, as much as we can." Can we not talk about the last 2 years for a while? I just want to pretend I never left, that you never died, that we just continued. Whatever you need." He leaned against my shoulder, something he hadn't done since he was 12. "I knew you weren't dead. Some part of me knew. The watch, I only sold it because I knew somehow you'd find it. That sounds crazy. Love's like that sometimes. Crazy and true at the same time. We sat there until the sun came up, not talking about the lost years, not yet processing the trauma and lies. Just an old man and his grandson, finally where they belonged. Home." The first morning Eli woke up in his old room, I heard him crying. Not the dramatic sobs of fresh grief, but something quieter, deeper. The sound of someone letting go of a weight they didn't know they'd been carrying. I stood outside his door with a cup of coffee I'd made for him, unsure whether to knock or let him have this moment alone. "I know you're there, Pop," he said through the door. "Your knees crack when you stand still too long. Some things don't change." I pushed open the door to find him sitting on the floor, surrounded by things he'd pulled from his closet. Photos, report cards, the papier-mâché volcano we'd made for his 4th grade science fair. "I thought he threw all this away," he said, holding up a certificate for perfect attendance. "He told me we didn't have room for old junk when we moved. I would never throw away anything of yours. But why did he lie about such small things? I get lying about you being dead. That's control. That's money. But why lie about keeping my childhood stuff?" I sat down beside him, my knees protesting loudly. Because small lies make the big ones easier to believe. If everything from your past is gone, then his version of history becomes the only truth. Eli picked up a photo. Him and Sarah at the beach, probably the last trip before she got sick. I forgot what she looked like when she was healthy. He only had one picture of her at the house, and it was from when she was pregnant with me. She looked tired in it. She was tired, 17, pregnant, scared. But look. I pulled out my phone, showed him a video I'd saved. Sarah, at 25, pushing Eli on a swing, both of them laughing. This is who she really was. He watched it 3 times before speaking. He made me think she was weak, that she couldn't handle life. That's why she died young. But she wasn't weak, was she? Your mother was the strongest person I ever knew. She worked 2 jobs while going to community college, raised you mostly alone, never complained, never gave up. Until the accident. Even that wasn't giving up. Wrong place, wrong time, drunk driver running a red light. Nothing to do with strength or weakness. Eli was quiet for a moment. The drunk driver. Pop, I need to tell you something. I looked it up last year. The police report. Dad was supposed to pick me up from daycare that day. Mom only drove that route because he didn't show up. Again. I'd known this, had carried this knowledge like a stone in my chest for years. It wasn't his fault she died. But if he'd just shown up, then maybe she'd have died another day, another way. Or maybe not. We can't live in the what-ifs, Eli. They'll eat you alive. He leaned against my shoulder. Is that why he hates me? Because I remind him of his failures? I think he hates himself, and you're the mirror that shows him who he really is. We spent the morning going through everything, me filling in the gaps of stories he half remembered. Then his phone rang. Marcus, don't answer. I started, but Eli had already picked up. What? His voice was flat. Then his face changed. What do you mean, arrested? I grabbed the phone, put it on speaker. Marcus was talking fast, panicked. Loan sharks, they called the cops, said I stole from them. I need bail money, just $5,000. You need to stop, I said. Eli doesn't have money and neither do I. Bullshit. You have the house, retirement, which I won't mortgage for you. Call Denise. She's gone, took everything, even cleaned out the baby's college fund. Eli grabbed the phone back. There was money left. You said it was all gone. Silence. Then, I might have kept some aside. For the baby, for your new son, but not for me. It's different. Because he's really yours and I'm just the burden you inherited. Eli's voice was steady, but his hands shook. I know, Dad. I've always known. You think I couldn't feel the difference? I tried. No, you performed. There's a difference between trying to love someone and performing the role of loving them. I know because Pop never had to perform. It was just real. Your grandfather poisoned you against me. My grandfather was dead, remember? You killed him. You made me mourn him. You stood at a memorial service and watched me cry for someone who was alive. What kind of person does that? Marcus's voice turned mean, the mask finally dropping completely. The kind who needed you to stop asking questions, stop looking for him, stop comparing me to him. So you made me an orphan, completely alone in the world. You had me. I had the man who killed the only parent I'd ever known. Do you understand that? You didn't just take Pop away. You made me believe love dies, that everyone I love will leave me. I took the phone back. Marcus, I'm going to say this once. Don't contact Eli again. Don't call, don't write, don't show up. He's 3 weeks from 18. After that, he's going to decide whether to press charges for the financial fraud. Leave him alone, and maybe he decides to let it go. You can't threaten. It's not a threat. It's clarity, something you've never been good at. I hung up. Eli stared at the phone for a long moment, then threw it across the room. Not in anger, in exhaustion. I thought when I found out you were alive, everything would be fixed, he said. But it's not, is it? The damage is done. I spent 2 years believing I was alone. 2 years thinking everyone I loved was gone. 2 years building walls because what's the point of letting people in if they're just going to die? Look at me, I said, waiting until he met my eyes. The damage is real. The lost time is real. But you know what else is real? You're here. I'm here. We found our way back to each other despite every lie, every obstacle, every impossible thing standing between us. That's not nothing. But what if I can't undo it? What if I can't trust people anymore? What if he broke something in me that can't be fixed? Then we'll work with what's not broken. We'll start small. Trust that I'll make coffee every morning. Trust that your room will always be here. Trust that the sun will rise, the garden will grow, and I'll never, ever tell you I'm something I'm not." He nodded, wiping his eyes. "Can we do something normal today? Like, really normal? Grocery shopping or fixing the sink or something boring and regular?" The garage door's been squeaking for 6 months. Perfect. We spent the afternoon fixing things. The garage door, a loose floorboard, a drawer that wouldn't close properly. With every repair, I watched Eli relax a little more, sink back into the rhythm of a life he remembered. He knew where the tools were, which wrench to grab, how I like to tackle problems methodically. "You know what's weird?" he said, holding a flashlight while I worked on the garage door spring. "I tried to teach myself to be like him. For 2 years, I tried to walk like him, talk like him, think like him. But the second I walked into this house, I remembered who I actually am. It's like I was wearing a costume that finally came off. You've always known who you are, you just forgot for a while." That evening, as we ate dinner, spaghetti with too much garlic the way Sarah used to make it, Eli asked, "Do you think he ever loved me? Even a little?" I wanted to lie, to soften the blow. But we'd had enough lies. "I think he loved the idea of you. The idea of being a father, having a son, getting a second chance. But loving an idea and loving a person are different things." "Yeah," Eli said quietly. "Yeah, I know. But knowing and accepting are different things too. That would take time. Time we finally had. Loving the story? Show some love. Subscribe, like, and hit the bell. Thank you. Now, let's get back to it." 3 weeks passed in a blur of normal. Breakfast together, fixing up the garden, Eli studying for finals at his old spot at the kitchen table. We didn't talk about Marcus, about the lost years, about anything heavy. We just existed together, relearning each other's rhythms. Then Denise showed up. It was a Thursday afternoon. Eli was at the library and I was repotting tomatoes when a silver Mercedes pulled into the driveway. She stepped out looking nothing like the put-together woman I'd seen at court proceedings. Her designer clothes were wrinkled, her perfect hair undone. "Mr. Patterson," she said, clutching an envelope. "I need to talk to you. About Marcus. About what he did." I let her in, made coffee while she sat at my kitchen table looking small and lost. The same table where Eli did homework, where Sarah had announced her pregnancy, where 3 generations of Patterson conflicts and reconciliations had played out. "He's been lying since the beginning," she said without preamble. "About everything. About you, about the money, about who he was." "I know." "No, you don't understand. It's worse than you know." She opened the envelope, spread out documents. "He didn't just spend Eli's inheritance, he took out loans against it. Fraudulent loans, using Eli's social security number. Your grandson is 18 with $60,000 in debt he doesn't know about." The coffee mug slipped from my hand, shattered on the floor. "I found these cleaning out the safe. I think he was planning to disappear. Leave the country, maybe. Let Eli discover the debt when he tried to apply for college loans. Why are you telling me this? Because I have a son, too, Marcus Jr., and someday he's going to ask about his father, and I want to be able to say I did one right thing." She pulled out more papers. "I've been documenting everything, recording conversations. I want to help Eli press charges. Why should we trust you? You shouldn't, but you should trust this." She pulled out her phone, played a recording. Marcus's voice, drunk and mean. "The kid was worth more dead than alive. Should have been him in that car, not Sarah. At least then the life insurance would have been bigger. I had to sit down. There's more," Denise said. "Hours of it. Him admitting to the fraud, to lying about your death, to planning to flee. Enough to put him away for years. What do you want in return?" "Nothing. Just, when my son is old enough, will you tell him his mother tried to do right? That she wasn't all bad?" Before I could answer, the door opened. Eli walked in, saw Denise, and froze. What is she doing here? Eli, Denise started. No, you don't get to talk to me. You stood there while he told me Pop was dead. You helped plan the memorial service. You watched me cry and said nothing. I didn't know he was alive. Marcus told me. You knew something was wrong. You had to. Nobody's that good a liar. Denise looked at me, then back at Eli. You're right. I knew something was off, but I was pregnant, scared, and Marcus was convincing. He said your grandfather was old, sick, that it was better this way, that a clean break would help you heal. Heal from what? From having someone who actually loved me? From the instability. That's what he called it. Said your grandfather would die soon anyway, and then you'd have to grieve twice. So you helped him kill Pop early. How efficient. I put my hand on Eli's shoulder. She brought evidence about the loans, the fraud. She's trying to help. Eli looked at the papers spread across the table. His face went pale as he processed what they meant. He put debt in my name? I can help fix it, Denise said quickly. I have recordings, proof it was fraud. We can file charges, clear your credit. We? I'm testifying against him. My lawyer says with my evidence he'll go away for at least 5 years. Eli sat down hard. 5 years. Maybe more if the federal charges stick. We were all quiet for a moment. Then Eli asked, Where's the baby, Marcus Jr.? With my mother. He's safe, happy. He won't remember any of this. Luck him. Denise stood to leave, then turned back. Eli, I know you hate me. You should. But I want you to know. Those 2 years, when I saw how you kept that watch hidden, how you'd look for someone in the crowd at your games, I knew. Some part of me knew we were doing something monstrous. I'm sorry. It doesn't fix anything, but I'm sorry. She left her lawyer's card and the evidence. After she was gone, Eli and I sat in silence, staring at the proof of Marcus's betrayal laid out like a map of cruelty. We have to do this, don't we? Eli said finally. Press charges. Make it official. It's your choice. No, it's not. If we don't stop him, he'll do this to someone else. Maybe Marcus Jr. when he's older. Maybe some other family he cons his way into. I made the calls. Lawyer, police, credit bureaus. Eli sat beside me, 18 years old as of midnight last night, signing affidavits and victim statements with a steady hand. The detective who took our statement was young, probably not much older than Eli. This is one of the worst cases of parental fraud I've seen, she said. The emotional abuse, the financial crimes, the identity theft. You're brave for coming forward. I'm not brave, Eli said. I'm just tired of lies. That night we ordered pizza, pepperoni with extra cheese, Eli's favorite since he was 5. We ate it on the back porch, watching fireflies rise from the garden. You know what the worst part is? Eli said. I still want him to love me. Even knowing everything, some stupid part of me wants my father to love me. That's not stupid. That's human. Pop, can I ask you something? Did your father love you? My great-grandfather? I thought about it. He loved me the only way he knew how, quietly, through work and provision. He wasn't warm, wasn't affectionate, but he showed up every day. He stayed. Is that enough? It was for him and me, but love should be more than just showing up. It should be choosing someone's happiness over your comfort, protecting them even when it costs you, being honest even when lies would be easier, like you did for me, like I tried to do. Eli was quiet for a moment. I'm going to change my name, back to Patterson. Eli James Patterson, after you. You don't have to. I want to. I want to carry the name of someone who actually loved me. 2 days later, Marcus was arrested at his dealership. Made the local news. Local man charged with identity theft of own son. The story went viral briefly. People horrified by the detail about faking my death. Eli refused all interviews, all requests for comment. Our pain isn't entertainment, he said, but privately he read every comment, every message of support. Look, he showed me one. This woman says her father did something similar. Told her that her grandparents didn't want to see her. She found out at 30 they'd been trying to contact her for years. It's more common than you'd think. Parents weaponizing love, using children as pawns. Did you ever think about just giving up? Accepting I was gone? Every day. But then I'd remember your mother's face when she asked me to take care of you. Remember teaching you to ride a bike in this very driveway. Remember that love isn't something you can just turn off, even when everyone tells you the person is gone. Love remains, Eli said softly, even when time passes. Time passes. Love remains. 6 months later. The courtroom was smaller than I'd expected. Same building where they'd taken Eli from me 3 years ago, but a different room. This one had windows. Light streamed in, catching the dust motes that danced above the defendant's table where Marcus sat in an orange jumpsuit. He'd lost weight, hair gone gray at the temples. He looked like what he was, a middle-aged man who'd gambled everything on a lie and lost. Eli sat beside me in the gallery, wearing the suit we'd bought for his high school graduation. He'd walked across that stage 2 months ago, honor roll, full scholarship to State University. I'd cried, he'd pretended not to notice. "You don't have to be here," I whispered as the bailiff called for order. "Yes, I do." The prosecutor presented the evidence methodically. Financial records, Denise's recordings, the memorial service program with my obituary, each piece building a wall of truth around Marcus's lies. When they called Eli to give his victim impact statement, he squeezed my hand once, then walked to the podium with Sarah's posture, spine straight, shoulders back, chin up. "My name is Eli James Patterson," he began. "Until 6 months ago, it was Eli Marcus, but I changed it. I wanted to carry the name of someone who actually loved me." Marcus flinched. "You want to know the cruelest thing my father did? It wasn't stealing my inheritance or ruining my credit. It wasn't even telling me my grandfather was dead. The cruelest thing was making me believe I deserved it, that I was such a burden, such a disappointment, that the only person who'd ever chosen to love me had died rather than fight for me." The courtroom was silent. I spent 2 years believing love was temporary, that everyone I loved would leave. I pushed people away, built walls, prepared myself to be alone forever. Because if your own grandfather can die and leave you with someone who barely tolerates you, what does that say about your worth? He looked directly at Marcus then. "But here's what you didn't count on, Dad. Love doesn't die just because you say it does. It lives in baseball trophies kept on shelves, in gardens tended by aging hands, in Facebook pages created just in case, in old men sitting in parking lots with binoculars, watching basketball games they're legally barred from attending." My eyes burned. I kept them fixed on Eli. You tried to kill that love. You held a memorial service for it. But love isn't that fragile. It survived your lies, your cruelty, your theft. It waited. And when I was ready, when I was brave enough to look, it was still there, still alive, still choosing me every single day. He pulled something from his pocket. My father's watch. This watch says, "Time passes, love remains." You made time pass, 3 years of it, but the love remained. And now, time's up for you. Marcus stood suddenly. "Eli, son, please, don't call me son. I'm not your son. I'm Sarah Patterson's son. I'm James Patterson's grandson. I'm the product of people who loved me without condition, without performance, without price tags. You're just the man who taught me what love isn't." Eli returned to his seat. The judge sentenced Marcus to 8 years, 5 for the fraud, 3 for the identity theft. He'd be eligible for parole in 4. As they led him away, he looked back once. Not at Eli, at me. There was something in his eyes, not remorse exactly, but recognition. He'd lost. Completely. Outside the courthouse, reporters waited. Eli walked past them without a word, but I stopped. "Mr. Patterson, How does it feel to have your grandson back? I thought about it. Like resurrection, like learning the dead can sometimes come back to life. And what's next for you two? Time, I said. We're going to take our time. 1 year later. Pop, you're going to burn the burgers. I looked down at the grill where, indeed, smoke was beginning to rise. They're well done. You kids don't appreciate properly cooked meat. Charcoal isn't a cooking temperature. Eli took the spatula from me, salvaging what he could. Behind us, the backyard was full of people. His girlfriend Anna from college, kids from his old basketball team, Margaret from down the street. Even Denise had come. Marcus Jr. toddling around the garden, pulling up carrots he shouldn't. It was Eli's 19th birthday. We decided to celebrate everyone we'd missed together. "Hey, Pop," Eli said, flipping burgers with practiced ease. "I've been thinking about forgiveness. Not for him, for us. I think we need to forgive ourselves for the lost time. Stop mourning it. We can't get it back, but we can stop letting it steal more time from us." I watched him, taller now, filled out form proper meals and peace. Still Sarah's eyes, but without the shadows that had lived in them. When did you get so wise? Learned from the best. Anna called him over to help with something, and I took back the spatula. Watched my grandson laugh, watched him be 19 and normal and free. The watch caught the light on his wrist. He never took it off now. Later, after everyone had gone home and we were cleaning up, Eli said, "I got a letter from Marcus. I stopped moving. I didn't open it, but I didn't throw it away either. Is that weird? No, he's still your father. Biology doesn't care about behavior. Maybe someday I'll read it. When I'm ready. When it can't hurt me anymore. And if that day never comes, then it stays sealed. Another piece of history that doesn't need examining." We finished cleaning in comfortable silence. Then Eli said, "I'm thinking about law school, after undergrad. Specifically, family law, grandparent rights. That's a tough field. Someone needs to fight for the grandparents who are told they don't matter, for the kids who are kept from the people who really love them." He paused. "For the next us." I thought about Mavis, how proud she'd be. She would have loved that. Your mother. She would have loved who you've become. Even the broken parts? Especially those. They're what make you understand other people's broken parts. That night I found Eli on the back porch, reading that old book about the dragon. We'd finished it years ago now, but he still returned to it sometimes. "Still trying to figure out if the dragon's good or evil?" I asked. "No," he said. "I figured it out. The dragon's just trying to survive. Sometimes survival looks like evil to people who've never had to fight for it." "And what about the boy?" "The boy learns that love isn't about slaying dragons. It's about understanding them, even the ones that breathe fire, even the ones that tell you you're dead." He closed the book, looked up at the stars. "Pop, thank you. For waiting. For believing I'd find my way back. For refusing to stay dead. Thank you for looking, even when you thought I was gone." We sat there as the crickets sang their evening chorus, 2 generations bridging 3 years of lies with the simple act of existing in the same space. Time had passed. Birthdays, holidays, ordinary Tuesday mornings we'd never get back. But love had remained. Love always remains. It lives in the space between heartbeats, in the dust motes dancing in afternoon light, in the careful tending of empty rooms. It survives lies and legal documents, distance and even death itself, or at least the rumor of death. Marcus was wrong about many things, but the thing he was most wrong about was this. You can't kill love by declaring it dead. You can bury it, eulogize it, build monuments to its absence. But love is patient. Love is stubborn. Love plays the long game. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, love wins. The watch on Eli's wrist caught the porch light as he reached over and squeezed my shoulder. "Same time next year?" he asked, and I knew he meant more than just the birthday party. Every year, I promised. Every single year we have left. Time passes. Love remains, even when they tell you you're dead. And so, our tale comes to a close. A massive thank you to everyone who watched until the end. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more. We have so many more stories to tell, and I'll see you in the next adventure.